Welcome to the League 60560, your source for weekly league news. Now, I don't get out enough. The country's in shambles. The Bears are trying to kill me. So I'm going to do what I do best and hyper focus on fantasy football. So let's get started with where we're at coming into this week. We got three teams tied at 6-3. You got the Hallis Palace, most points scored, most points scored against, sitting in first place. And we also have Moving the Chains and the Bulletproof Tigers. Wait, the Bulletproof Tigers? Well, that's interesting because I was looking at the points scored against, and it says here the Bulletproof Tigers are just as bad as the Struggle Squad, and they're 6-3. I'm sure that's going to last. Next, we've got 4 teams sitting at 5-4, and that's where that break off is going to be between making the playoffs and not making the playoffs. Couple big ones this week. Of course, we got the Hallis Palace versus Moving the Change, number 1 versus number 2. We've got Bulletproof Tigers versus Struggle Squad, Future Toilet Bowl. We also have the Henry Express versus Fuck You. That should be an easy one for the Henry Express, if we're being honest. Another big one, Jamarvelous versus Hurting for a Title. That one's going to have serious playoff implications, fellas. So let's get straight. First up, we got Moving the Chains versus the Hallis Palace. Big matchup of Titan teams. Both these teams have serious championship aspirations this year. For whatever reason, ESPN hates the Hallis Palace, has since draft day. Doesn't matter. The boys just go out there and work every week. Moving the Chain's going to have a couple tough matchups this week. You got Jaden Daniels going against the second-rate Pitt defense. Also got Chase Brown going tonight against Baltimore. Tough D. Broncos going up against the Kansas City offense. Going to be tough. But they do have Breece Hall going, Deebo Samuel, and Dalton Kincaid all going after defenses ranked 26th or worse. So good opportunity for points then. But what do we got over here? The Hallis Palace. We've got Joe Burrow at Baltimore. We've got Saquon Barkley at Dallas. Thank you. We've got Tank Dell at Detroit. We've got Jonnu Smith. We got the Bears versus New England. Oh, what's that? ESPN is favoring Moving to Chains by 15 points. Hammer that. Take those points and run all day. Next up, we've got the Henry Express versus Fuck You. Now, the Henry Express has had an interesting year. A lot of injuries. But this week, they're getting back Christian McCaffrey and Nico Collins. And somehow both Devontae Adams and DeAndre Hopkins have been resurrected from the dead. Don't know how that worked, but whatever. Good news is they look like they are in trouble this week with bad matchups across the board with Kyler Murray, Derrick Henry, Trey McBride, DeAndre Hopkins, all going up against tough defenses. Where on the other side, Fuck You, a bad team with by far the least amount of points scored in the league, even though they're not as bad as the Struggle Squad. The Struggle Squad is just bad, I guess. They do have some favorable matchups with Josh Allen, Ramondre Stevenson, and Tyreek Hill on Monday night. So that'll be one to watch. Next, we got Struggle Squad versus Bulletproof Tigers. Just a pair of very bad teams. Struggle Squad, don't know how they're fielding a team. Barely have anybody on a top 10 ranking at any position. Somehow Bulletproof Tigers are coming through strong, even though they're starting bad players. Somehow Fish has Sam Darnold on his team, but he definitely drafted Anthony Richardson and Caleb Williams. So just something to think about. Next, we got Neighbors Think I'm Selling Dope versus Jamarvelous. Big game with playoff implications across the board. Right now, ESPN has Neighbors winning by a good amount. Not hard to see why. Good team. Justin Herbert. Jahmyr Gibbs is going to have a tough one against Houston, but they got St. Brown going against the weak Houston pass defense. Evan Ingram looks like he's going to be having a tough time in Minnesota. Whereas on the other side, Jamarvelous, really mixed bag. Lamar Jackson's going against a shit Cincinnati defense. whereas Joe Mixon's going against a very difficult Detroit defense. So DeAndre Swift might have a good game, maybe. Yeah, then you got Puka going against Miami, who has a surprisingly good pass defense, as well as Sam Laporta going against a very tough Houston pass defense as well. So, it's going to be a tough one across the board. Can't wait to see what happens. Last but not least, we got Cooking with Mahomes and Hurting with the Title. Another huge game. Huge game. Neither one of these teams is very impressive on paper, but they're doing all right. You got Cooking with Mahomes starting Brock Purdy. Doesn't have Mahomes. Weird. Kyron Williams is going against a weak Miami run defense, as well as George Kittle going against a weak Tampa Bay defense. On the other side of the ball, we're hurting for our title. Looking green across the board. We got Jalen Hurts against a weak Dallas defense. Bijan Robinson against a weak New Orleans defense. Does get a little tougher for David Montgomery and Marvin Harrison. Marvin Harrison's probably going to get locked down. Probably not going to have any points. Spoiler alert. Drake London might have a good game. Taking any defense against Carolina, always a good spot to be in. So, here's to you, fellas. Let me know how you like it.